Okay, so Nintendo kicked off their E3 Treehouse event with Pokemon Sun and Moon as promised, and there's quite a bit to talk about. I'm going to talk about the things in the order that they happened on the stream. I'm going to try to keep this video brief, so bear with me. First, we see the protagonist walking out of their house straight into Route 1. After that, they proceed to run into a wild Ladybug, which not only 100% confirms that there's going to be a mixture of old and new Pokemon, but you can also see the protagonist trainer standing behind their Pokemon, which is basically now confirmed to happen in any battle. It was just rumors at first, but now it's undoubtedly confirmed. But here we also get our first look at the battle UI, which has undergone quite a few changes from X and Y. You have your standard fight, Pokemon bag, and run buttons as usual, but there's also some new interesting things you can do, and we're going to talk about that. Firstly, there's a button to quickly use a Pokeball, which is handy so you don't have to go through your bag. It reminds me a lot of the most recently used item button in the bag to click and use your most recent item, but it's just more convenient to have it right there on the first screen. I don't know if this applies to just Pokeballs or not, but from what we've seen, it's just Pokeballs, because later in the stream they do use potions, and I don't think it changed. I'm not entirely certain though. But the attack menu has also undergone some changes. I'm not a big fan of the layout as a whole, because it's just like a list instead of the 4 buttons that X and Y had. But there are a few interesting little new additions to this. First, you might notice that the word effective shows up near some of the moves. This is brought up later in the stream, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it now. Basically, after you fight a Pokemon for the first time, anytime you fight that Pokemon after that, you can see the move's effectiveness. So like if a move is super effective, it'll show you. If it's resisted, it'll show you. This is really good for people who don't remember the type matchups very well. Personally, I am not good at remembering resistances, so that'll be really useful in like competitive battling and whatnot. But there's also a button you can click to see the general information for your move. Once again, this is good for people who aren't good at remembering things, so they don't have to like scroll through the Pokemon menu and open up the move and check the information. You can just do it with a click of a button. But you also might notice that there's Pokemon icons in the middle of the screen taking up quite a bit of space. These tiles are one of the more interesting buttons because you can click these little icons to pull up like a menu showing any stat changes on the Pokemon. Again, this would be really useful for competitive play because now you don't need to keep everything in your head. There's a little menu that keeps track of all the status changes for you. After catching the Ladybug, we see a renovation of the Pokédex screen where it's going to show you if the Pokemon you caught has an evolution or not. And they describe this as giving the player the incentive to seek out the next stage or previous stage. Just whatever. It gives more incentive to try to fill out the Pokédex. After the fight with the Ladybug, we actually see a brand new Pokemon, Yungoos. He's a little angry little guy, and I can assume that he's based off a mongoose. He seems to be like the regional rodent for Sun and Moon. Unfortunately, they covered up the Pokédex registration, so we didn't get to see how many evolutions it has, if any at all. And that's about all we have on the new Pokemon. This new Pokemon. We'll get to that. Next up, we run into our first trainer. There's a little new feature where a shadow border will appear on the top and the bottom of the screen when you get near a trainer, signaling that you're about to enter a battle. I don't know how I feel about this. I can see the usefulness of it, but I feel like it could get really annoying really quick. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But after initiating the battle, we see that the opponent is also standing next to their the opponent trainer is also standing next to their Pokemon. So not only is this gonna be for you, but all your opponent trainers are gonna do that too, instead of just like say How or your rival or whatever. But yeah, I like this addition. That's a really nice touch. But moving along, there's not much exciting that happens for a little bit, but eventually, while running to get an item, we encounter another brand new Pokemon. Or rather, this one's sort of new. This is the bird Pokemon that was shown in the very first reveal trailer, the little wireframe bird. We finally get to take a look at it. The Pokemon is called Pikipek. I think I said that right. And my prediction in my original video was true. It's based off a woodpecker. I guess it was fairly obvious, but unlike with Yungoos, we actually get to see the Pokédex screen for Pikipek, and we can see that it gets 2 evolutions. However, we have absolutely no information on these evolutions. Since Pikipek is red, it's possible that it could evolve into a fire flying type, but as we just had Talonflame in Gen 6, I'm not sure on the likelihood of that happening. And Poplio's water gun does do neutral damage, which leads me to assume it's probably just going to be a normal flying, but who knows what could happen. We'll just have to wait and see. A little bit later, we encounter Hala and the gang, where we find out that not only does Lily not like battling Pokemon, But one of the Nintendo employees actually stated that Lily isn't a trainer at all. Does this mean that someone else is going to claim the third unclaimed Pokemon and be our quote-unquote true rival? Or will we just not have a standard rival anymore? We don't see any hints of Lily having the third Pokemon, so it's really hard to say what will be the case in this situation. But after the encounter with the gang, you actually have to battle Hao for some type of Hawaiian festival, I guess? But during this battle, something interesting occurs that I would like to talk about. The Poplio actually levels up and learns Disarming Voice, which is a Fairy-type move. Is this just a random move thrown into his move pool, or could it be a hint that Poplio might actually become a Water Fairy-type? I personally think that there's a strong possibility of Poplio becoming a Fairy-type after this. But that about wraps things up for the important chunks of that entire 40-minute gameplay session. A lot of it was just running around and battling the same Pokemon. However, before leaving, we were left off with one more little video showing a new battle mode. This battle mode is called Battle Royale, and it's a 4-person free-for-all. A battle mode like this seems very interesting. I really can't wait to try it out. I've always wanted something like this, and I think it'd be really cool. But not only did we get to see the battle mode in action, we also get to see the trainers in different outfits, therefore 100% confirming without a doubt that trainer customization is returning in full. But that's all we have for the new Pokemon Sun and Moon information, but we won't be gone for long, because in just 2 days the Pokemon presentation is supposed to happen, which I'm assuming is going to be chock full of new information to analyze. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.